I'm going to make and take off now.
Yes,
Ready?
sir. You should start. You should start.
All right. So, friends, it's a pleasure to have you all here in the inaugural session today of International Business Valuers Association, which has been registered by the
Well,
regulator
Mike,
Insolvency.
bring mic closer.
My mic is on. Can you hear me?
Little bit closer. Yeah,
Can you hear me?
yeah, that's fine.
All right. So again, I'm welcoming all of my friends here, especially the guest of honor today, Shri Pavan Kumar ji, who is Executive Director with the Regulator Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India. And we shall be joining soon by the chief guest, C.S. Suresh Prabhuji, who shall be inaugurating, having an inaugural address for our IBVA today. Friend, the basic concept for this RVO is that the profession of valuers, it is gaining stream day by day. I recall I joined the profession of chartered accountancy way back in 1983. I was faced with the issues cropping up with the valuation. It used to be simple arithmetical, calculations. So what exactly is there in the balance sheet, or for that matter, anything, even if we talk about the plant and machinery, or for that matter, land and building, it used to be purely mathematical, concept. Now, going forward, we have seen that the profession of valuation has evolved. It is evolving day in, day out. And going forward, the way the things are happening and the way the economies are growing and the way the businesses are integrating globally, the global valuation practices have to have been here in this country. So with this brief, introductory remark, I would now request we have with us today. I'll just take some time in introducing our panelists as well as the guest of honor today. So we have with us Shri Pavan Kumar ji, who is an Indian Revenue Services Officer, and incidentally, he is an alumni of Shriram College of Commerce, to which I also belong. It's my alma mater also. So Pavan ji has been a 1990 batch revenue officer. He has served as commissioner at Jalandhar with additional charge at Palampur, Himachal Pradesh. He has a long experience in administration of income tax, including investigation and disciplines. He served earlier as director in the Ministry of Commerce. Mr. Pavan Kumar holds a master degree in commerce from Delhi University and MPhil from Department of Commerce, Delhi School of Economics. He is also a member of the Institute of Cost and Management Accountants. Then we have with us our mentor, Shri Dr. Ajay Shankar Singh, who is the Chief Course Advisor for IBVA, and presently he is the Chief Controller of Accounts at Ministry of Labour and Employment, Government of India. He is ICAS officer and has previously held positions in Ministry of Rural Development, Panchayati Raj, and Drinking Water and Sanitation. Before that, he handled ADB funded projects amounting to more than $8 billion. He has a very keen interest in the use of blockchain technology in governance. So he shall be mentoring all our IBV activities. Along with him, we have CA Anil Sharma. He again is a mentor with IBVA. Mr. Sharma is a fellow of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and is having a vast experience in field of taxation and audit. He is member of National Financial Reporting Authority, which has been a regulator for the accounting profession now going forward. And he has been advisor on regulatory compliances under various laws, corporate and foreign investments in India. He is a regular faculty at various institutes as well as Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs. Then we have with us a chairman and independent director of IBVA, Dr. Sushil Lal. He is again a chartered accountant and the senior peer reviewer level 1 of the firm. He has been nominated as technical advisor of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nepal. He is again a faculty with the IICA. Dinesh Singh is a CA. He's a director with IBVA. And he's vice president of Ackman Institute of Management, which is approved by AICTE, Ministry of HRD, Government of India since 2006. He has been keenly associated with the international institutions like UN Food and Agriculture Organization. where he has successfully arranged and executed 2 weeks residential program for the foreign delegates. We have Rajiv Singh. He's the basic motivator and the course director for IBVA. Rajiv is a registered valuer as well as independent director with the Union Bank of India. He's adjunct faculty with IICA, and he has been a former joint technical director in the certificate course of valuation of ICAI, as well as Masters in Business Finance of the ICAI. We shall be having 2 technical sessions. One shall be taken up by Rajiv Singh, another shall be taken by Santosh Maler. Santosh ji is director with RSM, which is a very, very famous CA firm in India. And he has 17 years of experience in India's IFRS, US GAAP audit and conversion engagements with several large clients. He has served with EY Global IFRS Services at London, during which he was closely associated with international on IFRS standard setting projects, such as international financial instruments, IFRS 9, revenue, IFRS. He has authored also, author of various books. So hence with this introduction of my panelists today, and obviously chief guest of the day, CA Suresh Prabhu ji shall be joining in, and he knows, he doesn't require a very formal introduction, and he's one of the gentlemen and fine human I have personally met and known for many years. With this, now I'll invite Dr. Ajay Shankar ji to give his initial remark as the mentor and what he thinks about IBVA's role going forward in the esteemed profession of evaluation. Dr. Ajay Shankar Singh. Hello. Hello.
So I was saying that good afternoon. It has become a routine in these days to ask whether I am audible or not. It means I am not audible. So let me make another try.
You are now
audible.
Ajay ji, you are now audible. Please carry on.
Okay. So let me begin with applauding the effort made by the entire team, which is not only doing a commendable job in this technically muted area, but a lot of work is required to be done in this field. So the effort done by Mr. Dinesh Singh, in fact, he told me, and Mr. Lal also got in touch with me. So the effort being done is really commendable. Whatever little awareness I have about the process, I will not like to share with such esteemed panel, because they all are experts in the field. Today I will like to touch upon the new technology, blockchain technology, which can play a role in the entire valuation process, and how all stakeholders can be brought together with the use of technology. So that is the area I like to briefly touch upon, and I'll take not more than I believe 7 to 8 minutes, because I know the expert like Rajiv Singh, who has worked for many years in the field of developing curriculum for the programs, and experts like you who are on the panel, you know your job and you know the entire complexities of the field. But this area is very close to my heart, that is blockchain technology and how it can be used in the valuation process. Was there any observation from somebody? Okay.
No, sure.
So the blockchain technology, I believe many of you may have heard, and primarily because of Bitcoin. So Bitcoin, I generally keep telling that, has done a lot of disservice to blockchain technology rather than giving a good name. It is almost like, TikTok, which has been banned in India. So Bitcoin is one part of the entire internet technology. Blockchain is like internet and TikTok is your Bitcoin. So one can use internet for multiple kind of activities. Similarly, blockchain technology can be used in all fields wherever there is any transaction happening. Transaction does not mean majority if you are from commerce background, so you know that transaction may take place when one is exchanging document, one is exchanging commitment, one is exchanging liability, or one is exchanging asset. So blockchain takes care of any transaction which is happening between two or more than two parties. And here in the case of valuation, we are doing a very critical job where you may be the best valuer in the world, but there will be another person who will be having a different view on your valuation methodology or the document being used by you or document provided to you for valuation purposes. So blockchain technology, what it does, it can provide a platform to the stakeholders where all the relevant documents are equally available. So every stakeholder knows what kind of document was provided to the valuer who is doing the valuation. So there is a great deal of transparency, and that is the biggest asset of blockchain technology. And since that transparent document is available to all stakeholders, and technique being known by and large nowadays, you all know that 4 or 5 techniques are there for valuation. So everybody knows how to handle that. After that, whatever this is done, whatever additional documents are brought in, so every stage is visible to all stakeholders. And here stakeholders does not mean common public. Stakeholders means people who are actually in the process, the people who are going to transact. Even regulator can also be part of that blockchain group. So it is like a closed group. In our case, generally permission network is also an area of one terminology which is used in blockchain technology. Another one is open blockchain. Yeah, so what happens in our case, if a valuer is using document A, that document and its credentials are available to all stakeholders. Say you are using 2 or 3 data from that document, and later on you feel that you need to amend that data or change that data or delete that document. The blockchain does not allow that. What it allows is that you can add, which will be visible to everybody, and you will give the reason as to why you are amending it or why you are deleting it. So a historical record is created of all the documents which have been used in the process, all the documents which have been amended, and it is a very, very democratic process. Everybody will come to know of the amendment done. Somebody may object to it, somebody may support it. So generally you will move ahead only when majority of people support it. So in this democratically transparent process, what happens, whatever document any valuer is using, whatever record any valuer is using, that record gets a kind of legitimacy by every stakeholder. So later on, nobody can allege that some documents were tampered with, or some documents were used selectively, or some documents were ignored, because all the documents are there in the domain of stakeholders. So in a nutshell, this is the way it happens, and any stakeholder other than valuer, if somebody has to make a comment or somebody has to provide some additional input, maybe a prospective buyer or a regulator wants to make a comment, he can make a comment, and that will again be available to all desired stakeholders. Here I am using the term desired stakeholders because regulator may at times not like to convey his or her observations to every stakeholder. So even that selective group or a micro group can also be created within the blockchain, and through permission network, only select people can be provided with the relevant information. So what I will like to highlight here in this area also is that blockchain will not only increase transparency, it will not only increase the involvement of stakeholders, it will also bring down the prospect of litigation which may generally happen later on. Because in many corporate valuations I have come across, there are many case studies where people have gone to court later on that this valuation was done wrongly or certain facts were not presented properly, and we were made to make our judgment on the basis of valuation report which is dubious or which is debatable. So all these things can be taken care of by using blockchain technology. What I like to highlight here is that it is not a panacea, it is only a tool whereby we can increase transparency and we can increase involvement of stakeholders. So since I have been asked to make opening remarks, I really don't want to bulldoze everybody with new technology, but later on in the course of our interactions we can definitely discuss more about it. So with this I'll seek the permission of moderator. Chair is still not there, but moderator, I'll request, please go ahead with other presentations. If there will be a need, I will definitely like to pitch in. Regarding the course content, I am very happy I have gone through that Dhando booklet also, and the course is already being run by many centers. So I am firm that this group and this organization is going to do yeoman service to promote not only education but bring in professionalism in the sector. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Ajay Shankar Singh. It was wonderful to have add on as a blockchain another perspective to the field of valuation. We probably thought blockchain is limited only to Bitcoin, and the way probably going forward, this blockchain technology is going to have better reporting processes, which will be having more integrity and transparency in reporting. Thank you once again. Now I'll request C. Anil Sharma, member NFRA, NEFRA, to please share his views as a mentor for IBVA. Anilji. Anilji is going to again join us after logging off and again logging in. In the meantime, may I request guest of honor today, Shri Pavan Kumar Ji, Executive Director, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board. Sir, can we request you to guide us with your words of wisdom and what exactly the way forward should be for a newly incorporated and registered valuer organization? Shri Pavan Kumar Ji.
Thank you, Avinash Ji. Thank you for your kind words at the beginning. And I'm happy to. Am I audible now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, perfect. So I think it's a pleasure to be there amongst all my distinguished panelists. It is a pleasure to be amongst, and dear friends, a very good afternoon to all of you. I know that this is a very young RVO which has just joined the family of IBBI. So I really congratulate the organizers who have taken pain to join and come in the fold of IBBI. As we all know, the profession of valuers, most of you I see are professionals in the field of accounting, and the profession of valuation is something which I believe in the last is more than I think 50 years old. The times when the barter trade started, I think valuation profession has been in existence directly or indirectly in these forms. More importantly, I would say that we all know there are at present very fragmented users which lie in different pockets, or what can say is the different islands on which the different users have been using the valuation services. Whether it is the income tax department to which I belong, wealth tax, under the Wealth Tax Act, some people are registered and they are catering to only though that particular specific legislation. More importantly, I would say then again in the securities market, we have a SEBI, we have banks which are using valuation services. So what has happened over a period of last 30, 40 years since the liberalization came in 1990s, when you see the business got the freedom to start. I would say before that it was a license or control Raj. In 1991, when the economy started opening, the business got the opportunity, or rather, in true sense, the freedom to start the business was given to a business. Then, with the enactment of competition law, I think the freedom to grow was given to the business in true sense. And then the third most important reform in our economy came in 2016 when the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, IBC code was enacted. The freedom to exit was given to the business. Now, when we have all the freedom, more importantly, I would say that right from the birth of any business entity till the time he makes an exit decision, whether it is by way of insolvency or by voluntary winding up, at each stage, the services of valuer are required. When a business entity wants to grow, they need capital infusion is required. You need to price in your shares. Then also services of valuer are required. If you want to go to a bank for taking a loan, then also services of valuer are required. If you want to part with part of equity either to a venture capital fund or to any other investor, whether it is by way of merger, acquisition, divestment of your control or divestment of little stake in the company, at each of these events, the valuer comes into picture. Same is the case when there is a freedom to exit, then also the services of valuer are required. That is why we say, but unfortunately, the services of valuers are required, but they have developed and got fragmented in certain pockets only. The class of valuers so far are catering to only few pockets. Some are specializing only for bank loans. Some are specializing only for merger and acquisition deals. Some are dealing with only merchant bankers are dealing only with SEBI. So the point is, no one has looked upon the valuation professional as a holistically, or we can say there has been no effort to have the kind of regulation and development of the profession as a whole. That is why you see we feel proud to write the word CA or doctor or CS before our name, because we are recognized by the society as a professional. Unfortunately, despite being in existence for last more than 70 years, we are not able to still write the word VR before the name of the valuer, because nobody recognizes who is VR, what does a valuer do. It is still at best a part-time profession. For some it may be a full-time profession. But the profession has failed to get its legitimate due, what is owed by the society to this profession. I would say the reason has been only one, and which is very glaring. It doesn't require much of intellect to decipher that it has been because there has been, like any profession demands, a disciplined skill, a disciplined qualification, a branch which is truly a professional and which follows a model code of conduct. Then I would say, like any professional, whether it is a lawyer, whether it is an accountant, whether it is any other profession in the market, you require a disciplined branch of, you need to be a specialized, possessing specialized skill. And I think no other profession is as demanding as the valuation profession. If we see, it is a convergence of different branches. If it is a plant and machinery valuation, whether it is an electronic plant and machinery, whether it is a traditional plant and machinery, whether it is a land and building, it is a intangible asset, or whether it is a share, or it is a simple gold and jewelry, diamond, anything we need. I think it's a huge complex arena where there is a scope for truly a multidisciplinary profession, where people from all walks of life with all kinds of specialized knowledge, skill and experience can contribute to this profession. I think for the first time the profession got its legitimate due was the first step in 2013 when the Companies Act, the provision was enacted into section 247. The term was coined was registered valuer, and in true form it came into being was in with the notification of rules in 2017 when the registered valuers and valuation rules came into being. That was the first time. Under the IBC code, we still ask for two values. Each IP is required to get the valuation of the business. One is known as the fair value, other is known as the liquidation value. And they say there are key pillars of insolvency regime. Key pillars are IBBI being the regulator. The second is the adjudicating authority. The third, they call it as the insolvency professional. And to my mind, the fourth key pillar is the valuer. Because the whole fulcrum of IBC, the way the process is going to be guided in future is in the hands of the valuer. If there is a slight error either in the fair value or in the liquidation value, the results could be catastrophic. Results could go the other way around. If the fair value is too high, I would say there is a loss of economic value. The business enterprise which should have survived, which should have gone into and had a fair resolution will be pushed into liquidation. So it is an onerous responsibility which has been given to a valuer to come out with a very you can say independent valuation, and also it has to be accountable also, because when we are giving so much of responsibility to a profession, the responsibility comes with accountability and transparency. The transparency is the valuation report should be speaking. It should clearly tell the stakeholders as to what is the basis of my valuation, what are my assumptions. But then again, a word of caution comes. The valuation report should not have a kind of disclaimers that which should defeat the whole process itself. It should not become an end in itself. It should be a means to an end rather than becoming an end in itself. With this in mind, I think that is the basic philosophy. And with this, the government appointed a committee of experts, which you all are aware. The committee of experts had truly representatives from all the stakeholders which are involved in this process, and it was truly representative in that sense. And also it had extensive consultations with the stakeholders. We held number of roundtables, and more than I think 2,000 users gave us feedback on the online platform, apart from various RVOs, which are our extended arm of the state. I would say there is a greater duty on the RVOs also. It is easy to congratulate us on becoming an RVO, but I would be honest in saying so that again RVOs have a responsibility of a regulator. They are our extended arms of the regulator. They have to not only play the role of taking the members on board, not only to register the members, but they have a catalyst role to play in the market, feel the pulse of the profession, feel the dynamics of the game, and indulge in a continuous educational program to educate their members, update their skills, and also they have been given the power to discipline their members. Like Ajay ji gave us a glimpse of blockchain. Yes, I'm really happy to note that these are the technological advances which a valuer has to be continuously updated. Here comes the role of RBOs, which the regulator may not be able to play with the kind of resources, but RBOs are our extended arm. They have to play that role. They have to discipline their members. They have to take that responsibility. If they fail, only then the role of the regulator comes in. We are the second tier. That is why this two-tier regulatory structure has been brought in. Unlike you see the profession of chartered accountancy, unlike the profession of advocates or the three professional accounting bodies, why even the cost accountants and the company secretaries, there you see India has transitioned itself. If we see the last 50 years, earlier the government gave the role of self-regulation, then became the state regulation, because all these professional acts came with the statutory, they were created as statutory bodies. And then now the time has come for co-regulation. Co-regulation is like what SEBI, what IBBI, what IRDA, these kind, even the latest is the Medical Council bill, which has come into being. So we are glad to hear we will be glad to hear your feedback in the forthcoming sessions, and we look forward to the constructive feedback coming from the members of the RVO, because government is very keen, and with your active support, I think the time has come. It is ripe for the valuation profession to get its due, and let the parliament, let the bill go to the parliament and see that the valuation bill comes through and an independent regulator comes into being, sees the light of the day, so that the profession as a whole gets its due. With these words, I thank you all for giving me an opportunity to be there, and I look forward to the constructive suggestions received from the RVO. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir. It is wonderful. It was wonderful to hear you, and especially the role and onerous responsibility which, as a RVO, we shall be carrying out. And I'm sure the team, under the able leadership of all our members, I think we shall be able to fulfill what exactly are the roles expected of us. Friends, we have now joined by CA Suresh Prabhuji. Sir, we welcome you. And in your absence, I'll just we have with us Executive Director of IBBI, Shri Pavan Kumarji, and Shri Anil Sharma-ji, who is from NFRA, National Financial Reporting Authority. Besides, we have Dr. Ajay Shankar Singh, who is Chief Controller of Accounts with the Ministry of Labour and Employment. A couple of other friends are also there, sir. And before that we proceed ahead, I will just let my friends here know that today is Prabhuji's birthday. Sir, many happy returns of the day. May God bless you with immense energy so that you can serve the nation in the times to come. Suresh Prabhuji needs no introduction, brothers. He is a different kind of a politician. He not only looks beyond the political role which he has to play. My personal interactions with him over the past couple of years, I have known him as a very good human being. Especially in this period of webinars and COVID, what I understand is, almost more than 200 webinars he has attended to and touched upon the lives of at least 1.5 million families. So that kind of, and he has dealt with topics beyond his core area of functionality, starting from the commerce to the global geopolitical situation, as well as the inter-community faith and all that topics he has. I had been listening to his deliberations. Sir Anil Sharma ji, I'll request you to come in later because we have a time slot for Suresh Prabhuji. He has the next meeting. So may I request our chief guest of the day, Suresh Prabhuji, to guide us. This is a registered valuers organization under the regulator IBBI. Sir, we want your words of wisdom and the guidance how we should proceed ahead. We understand that we have an onerous role to play, but your words shall definitely guide us. Suresh Prabhuji, please. अनिल जी तब तक आप शुरू करिए मैं उनके ऑफिस कनेक्ट करा रहा हूं.
Okay, yeah. So thank you Avnish ji for giving me this opportunity. At the outset, let me congratulate International Business Valuation Association and all the dignitaries who are involved with this RVO for success in their venture. Respected Pawan Kumarji, respected Suresh Prabhuji, Dr. Singh, Dr. Lal, Mr. Dinesh Singh ji, Rajiv Singh, and other professional colleagues. Actually, I'm very happy that International Business Valuation Association has now come into existence, and actually is going. You see, I was going through the 8-member panel report, which was headed by Mr. M.S. Sahu, where he has suggested that there would be a 4-tier structure where there's going to be a National Institute of Valuers on the similar line as we have Institute of Chartered Accountants of India and other institutes. Then there is going to be valuation institutes, then valuation professionals organizations, and valuation professionals. So I think International Business Valuation Association has been conceived as a very appropriate second level entity where this is going to provide education to relating to valuations. So I am actually I convey my sincere greetings and best wishes to the organization that let they be successful in their endeavor which they have started. See, these days we have been looking at valuation as such an important point. See, especially when we look at some of the transactions which has happened, especially with the startups, the kind of valuations which are being seen in this startups, which they are getting investment maybe in second round or even third round, and see. Then second is valuation about the real estate properties and all that. And the most important one is the valuations which are required by lending institutions. See, I'm sure that all of you have been experiencing that how valuation has been done in the past. It was being taken in a very light manner, and we used to hear the word in Hindi, I would say, kitni chahiye, that kind of words, ya itni chahiye. So I think that approach has to be now discarded, cannot be there. Professionals has to do a professional work. They have to do the job in the most professional manner. There was a reference of, use of technology. I think in addition to use of technology, 2-3 more things are required, and one is the collaboration with other institutes which are there in the other parts of the world. We must have cross-border knowledge sharing. Then and the most important part is the standardization of valuation standards. I mean, though as per the rules, government is going to set up some committee who is going to come out with the valuation standards. At the moment, internationally recognized accounting valuation standards have to be followed. But I think a specialized body who would be setting up these standards would be definitely a need of the hour. And I'm sure that government is going to think on those lines and would definitely come out with a very, very fast about these standards. See, when I was in the bank during that course, when we used to see the valuations and the same thing, fair valuation and residual value kind of, those reports were there. But see, when the same case was going before IBC, or when the case was falling into non-performing asset category, then when we used to see the valuations, all of a sudden we see that valuation at the time when the loans were granted was totally different. And now when the case is being seen as a NPA, and when you're looking at the security, valuations are different. Why that is happening? So it appears that there was some gap between the between the processes, between the standards which valuers has really adopted. Inadequate physical investigations or inspections, comparable valuations, restrictions on the sale, and then to failure to consider major defects. These were some of the factors which we noticed that they were there in the valuation reports. So I'm sure that our RBO, International Business Valuation Association, would look into all these aspects and would deliver that kind of education which is really of international standards, and would train the valuers to the level which is expected by the regulatory authorities, whether it is whether under the Companies Act, whether under SEBI, or under the IBBI, or even I say some other valuations which are required under SARFAESI Act. There also so many valuations are required, and IBA guidelines are there. So all those has to be seen, and international practices, and then they have to be there has to be a good combination of all those into all the education modules which we are creating in our RBO. And I'm sure that Rajiv Singh and other who are involved, like Avnish ji and Dinesh, are also are going to be director in this RBO, and would be taking care of this particular aspect very, very specifically. And I really express my sincere thanks and my good wishes to RBO, to IBVA for all the success. And at the end, I once again convey my sincere greetings to respected Suresh Prabhuji on his birthday. Thank you very much. Avnish ji. Avnish ji, please carry on.
Avinash ji, can I speak?
Yes, sir. You can speak, sir. Yes, sir. You can speak, sir.
Can I speak?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yes, sir.
Okay. So firstly, I'm really my sincere apologies, because I think there is some problem with the internet connection, which actually is happening for the first time, though I have attended almost more than 200 webinars in the last few weeks. So the first time I'm encountering it, I'm really, really sorry for this. And thank you for wishing me on my birthday. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And let me congratulate all the valuers professionals for setting up an organization which will bring in the best practices of the world into valuation practices in India. As you are aware, in modern world, it is no longer that you can decide the valuation on some arbitrary basis. The valuation has to be a science, and as you have just now very ably mentioned about bringing standards into valuation, but it has also to be an art. The science will come in the form of having certain stated parameters, which will bring in complete transparency. At the same time, art will ensure that you add your own value to this process by bringing in your professional expertise, which will make the entire exercise of valuation acceptable and credible to the whole people whole society who is going to make use of it. As you are aware, the valuation becomes a very key to most of the businesses. When you buy something, you are paying price for it. So valuation becomes very important. When you are selling, obviously, it is also extremely important that what price you're paying. So seller and buyer, of course, are interested. But if it is only between one seller and one buyer, it's a different game. Many times, the valuation is required for a large number of bodies who may be looking at a value of an asset, and they may be making investment on the basis of the underlying asset which is valued, and therefore the value that is added into the entire enterprise value of this company. In that situation, it is no longer between only two individuals, a buyer and seller, but there are a large body of individuals who have a stake into this whole exercise. And therefore, it becomes an extremely important exercise to make sure that it becomes completely transparent, as well as it becomes an extremely acceptable to the whole community of people, investors and others. As my other friend was talking about, the regulators have a very big responsibility, because the regulators finally will make sure that they try to weigh the interest of all the different stakeholders operating in that environment. Therefore, if it is not followed in a very scientific manner, and that's what comes the science of valuation, then the regulator themselves can be questioned, and therefore this is the problem that we have to face. So we have to deal with many aspects of valuation, and I'm sure it needed a professional body like this, which will bring in the necessary rules, practices, best professional standards for those who will be acting as valuers. And therefore, the body itself is important. And today I'm glad that this body is being set up. And hopefully over a period of time, this body will become so professionally sound that their voice, their opinion, their standards will be accepted everywhere. I've been seeing like some sort of valuation, for example, and that is always a very challenging thing. This is what we call it as a goodwill. Something which is not tangible, but so important. Sometimes the valuation of business, if it is carrying on business basis, the goodwill which is not seen but becomes so important that it can even have the value more than all the real assets of the company. And therefore, it is very important to deal with the challenging situations of valuing certain intangibles of this kind. And therefore, this is a very important aspect of the entire business transaction, but also related to such intangibles. Nowadays, certain valuation standards and some parameters accepted. For example, sometimes you value a business, and that has now become very traditional, that you can value a business based on what you can see. It has plant and machinery, fixed assets, current assets, and all of that. But many times the valuation of business is not just done on that basis. It may be the replacement cost of the assets, or it may be the historical cost of the assets. Even sometimes it may be an opportunity cost of the asset. But sometimes the valuation is dependent on the total potential of that business to be carried out in future. For example, take of retail business. The valuation of retail business is always done on the basis of the top line, because you feel that that's the kind of market share that this company is acquired, and therefore in future, if I am buying that business, then the total top line of that business will decide the valuation. So these kind of different parameters are emerging. What is important is these parameters also sometimes have to be revisited, because sometimes if you accept the parameter and you say my business is valued at 1,000 times more than my top line, there's no meaning, because how can your business be valued on that when you are actually losing money maybe at the bottom line? So we have to really revisit certain parameters also, not just accept them as a reality because they may be followed in some other part of the world. So we have to be very professionally qualified. There has to be a constant exercise to revisit the issues, and I'm sure the kind of talent I can see in this organization, the type of people that you're speaking in this webinar itself, would mean that this will be a continuing exercise and you will come out with very good standards about valuation. And I'm very happy that this is set up. This is going to be a great professional body. Only my last point is, how do you bring values into valuation? When I mean values, these are the values we all accept in life. When we talk about integrity, we talk about certain honesty. Can you bring those values into valuation? And if you bring those values into valuation, then that valuation will be more valuable than a valuation that is carried out without the values. So I think I wish you do all that. Let me wish you all the best to my colleagues and professionals who are doing this. Avinash Matta is one of my dear friend who is actually one of the key players into this organization. I wish him all the best and looking forward to working with all of you. Please count on my anything that I can do for promoting the cause of this. I'll be more than happy to do it. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thank you very much, sir. Your catchword, value the valuation, values in the valuation. We do subscribe to that view, and I can reassure you, and I'll just recite one example. When I looked into this profession of valuation in somewhere in 2009, and we started with setting up the valuation standards with the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. A team of Rajiv Singh, me and a couple of other friends, we worked on it, and I'm happy to share that under the leadership of Vinod Jain, who is again a very nice and good mentor and guide for us, we could set up that valuation standard, and it was called Corporate Affairs Standard, which had all ingrained all ingredients of the ethics and valuation principles, which will make which was to be adopted, and the council has already adopted it. So thank you once again for your time and your energy. Once again, happy birthday to you on parting.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Dinesh, can I request?
You have given me the most invaluable gift on the birthday to have a valuation setup done today.
Same here, sir. Dinesh ji, आपका formal vote of thanks to the sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, good evening to everyone. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes, please.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
My voice is coming?
Yeah.
Good evening to everyone. It's my privilege and pleasure to extend vote of thanks to such an eminent personalities. To begin with, I would like to take this opportunity to ensure our regulator, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, on behalf of my board of directors and mentors, we'd like to ensure we are the people will try all level best to comply with all the compliance norms and guidelines issued by Insolvency Bankruptcy Board of India from time to time. Now, I would like to extend my gratitude and special thanks to our chief guest for the occasion, Sri Suresh Prabhuji, and further, personally also would like to convey his happy birthday wishes and a much better life ahead, and for sparing the time and gracing the occasion with his presence, and provided valuable guidance with his word of wisdom. This is the beauty of your name, sir. Whenever we talk about you and taking your name, we are remembering God, because the word Prabhu is there. Sir, can we take this liberty of contacting you in order to get expertise and guidance from time to time? And one very important thing, and we have taken a note of it, you have advised all of us incorporating values in valuation. This is a very big statement, and we'll try to incorporate it in our practice. Now, I would like to extend my gratitude and convey my special thanks to the Executive Director, Sri Pawan K. Kumarji from Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, for giving his consent for attending our inaugural function, International Business Valuer Association recognized our view. Sir, your observation and suggestions are well taken and noted for the compliance. And here I'd like to say, Sri Pawan K. Kumarji, you have very beautifully explained the journey of valuer from long back till today, and what is the need of the hour and what is expected from us. We'll definitely try our level best to meet out your expectation, and the relationship between responsibility, accountability, transparency, definitely we will take care of it. Now I'd like to extend or convey sincere thanks to Sri Ajay Shankar ji. He is our mentor and he has supported and provided his guidance since beginning, and we are more than confident we keep on getting his guidance and support for time to come. As he has, while he's addressing, he has used the concept of blockchain, and he has tried to correlate the role of blockchain in this valuation aspect in a very spectacular manner. And here I would like to update everyone. Ajay Shankar ji has recently authored a book on blockchain, and very soon he is going to publish it on digitally and later on in hard copy. And this is not an easy topic, and this speaks about his technical expertise. Sir, your valuable words. Thanks for your valuable words and advices, and we keep in touch to get this on a continuous basis. Now I'd like to extend my thanks to Anil Sharma ji, who is presently a member on NEFRA board, and we are in touch with him for a pretty long time. Today is spared his time, and he has also given some important input in order to achieve excellence in the field of valuation. And under his guidance, our organization, that is International Business Valuer Association, will achieve greater heights. Now, special thanks to Sri Avni Mataji. He is the master of the ceremony. Sri Mataji, sir, you have given a very nice opening remark. It is because of you only we are having our chief guest of such a high stature, Sri Suresh Prabhuji. Thanks a lot, Mataji. Sir, you have conducted the entire this function in a simply very fantastic manner, and you deserve a special thanks. And after that, we are going to have certain technical session, which is to be conducted by
दिनेश जी, आपके आवाज
दिनेश सिंह साहब अनम्यूट हो गए आप, प्लीज म्यूट हो गए आप, अनम्यूट कीजिए।
हमारी आवाज अभी तक आ रही थी, नहीं आ रही थी? अभी तक आ रही थी?
नहीं दिनेश जी, ठीक है,
ठीक है,
ठीक।
So with these words, I'd like to conclude my vote of thanks. Thank you everybody once again, and special birthday wishes to Sri Prabhuji sir. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dinesh ji. Just normally what happens is after these kind of programs, we used to have tea and high teas. We are missing nowadays these kind of get-togethers and fellowships. Anyway,
yes, sir, we are going to have it. Let the thing come to the base normal. Definitely, we'll be meeting very soon in person.
See, webinars have become very, very easy to attend. But I mean, I miss the friendship and the fellowship of your friends, you know, in these webinars.
Yes.
Anyway, thanks once again. Thank you very much. And you please carry on with your technical sessions. Thank you, Pawanji. Thanks once again, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Pleasure.
Thank you. Good day, everybody. All the best.